Hey there. You probably don't know it, but God healed me of over 7 diseases and delivered me out of witchcraft. I literally got to see my own deliverance happen. He's healed me of ADD, asthma, anger issues, autism, bipolar disorder, chemical imbalances, depression, epilepsy, and food allergies. Now that is a pretty big mouthful. If you would have told me prior to 2008 that I would have been a Christian, I would have laughed right in your face. In order for you to get a better understanding of what it was like to grow up with these diseases, I need to start way back in the beginning when all this started, and then go on to tell you what my life is like right now. It started when I was about 5 years old. It was in the afternoon. Just a little kid crashing my Tonka trucks together, and I heard this voice, and it said, "Let's see if Jesus is real." And I thought, okay. And so I sat Indian style and looked in the upper right corner of my room, and I had this big smile on my face, and I said, "I love you, Jesus." And I didn't think anything of it. And I just went back to crashing my Tonka trucks together again, just like a little kid. And all of a sudden, it seemed like the air got tight around me, like the room got more full or something. I didn't quite know what was going on. And so I stopped crashing my Tonka trucks together. I sat Indian style again. I was looking around the room, trying to figure out what was going on. And it just seemed kind of weird what was happening. But then all of a sudden, this wind and energy blew from my back to my front, and it was so strong that I almost did a somersault. And my hands lit up. Now, light wasn't coming from my hands. When I say lit up, I mean there was like energy or something in my hands, and I couldn't quite understand what was going on. So the only thing I thought was special. Something special just happened, and I got to go tell my parents. And so what happened was I raced downstairs and went into the kitchen, and I said, "Hey, something just happened. I feel something in my hands." And then I tried to explain it the best I could as a 5-year-old, and they said, "It's just your imagination. Go back to playing." And I knew that it wasn't my imagination. My parents didn't know. When you're a kid, your parents seem to know everything. And so I was just looking at my hands, and I knew something was going on. And that started my quest to figure out what happened when I was about 5 years old. Growing up, I tried to find answers. My family didn't have answers. My friends didn't. Church people didn't have answers. My school buddies, they didn't know what I was talking about. And I felt pretty isolated growing up, and really didn't know what was going on with me. But I just had this quest in my heart, like I've got to figure this out, and I'm going to do anything to figure this out. By the time I was about 12 years old, I just gave up. I gave up on God. I cussed him out, and I said a lot of really horrible things to God. I ended up walking away from him because I told him, "Your people don't have answers." And I went through a bunch of other religions trying to find the truth. I went through transcendentalism. I went through Buddhism, Wicca, witchcraft, Kabbalah, Qigong, Reiki, and I almost got involved with the esoteric order of the Freemasons. and they deal with a lot of energy and witchcraft, as far as I know. You know, even though I went through all those other religions, I could never get God out of my mind. I knew He was real. I just didn't want to follow Him because, I mean, why would I want to? These people didn't know anything. They didn't know anything what happened, and so I figured some other religion must have the truth out there, and so that's what I did. I left God and pursued other avenues, and I ended up just going straight into witchcraft and sticking with that for many years of my life. I was actually on several medications. For seizures, I went through several. I was on Dilantin, phenobarbital, Tegretol. And Tegretol worked. You know, they said it was an extremely low dose for what most people have, and that worked for many years. And then when I had ADD, they prescribed me Ritalin. I was on that for about a week or two. I just didn't feel like eating, and my mom got involved, you know, and she ended up taking me off that. And for my bipolar disorder, chemical imbalances, depression, things like that, I actually went to a research center, and they ended up melting down an ounce of my hair, doing a urinalysis, a blood test, and they figured out what all my deficiencies were. And so they had to custom create a specific diet in the form of a pill just for me, just so my body would absorb it, because my body didn't process that nutrition very well. And so I had to take about 20 pills a day, and at some point it was over 20 pills a day, including my seizure medication. And I had food allergies. I had yellow dye, caramel color, MSG, sodium nitrate, and nothing took those away. Even if I was on the medicine and I had that, I would get very upset. I would get extremely upset. Off the medicine, I was not the person you wanted to be around. I got extremely upset. I'd break stuff. Sometimes I'd punch holes in walls. I wouldn't speak to one of my family members for over 6 months. And I just couldn't let go of the past. I just was very unforgiving. ADD was horrible. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't focus on schoolwork. I got bored easily. You know, just the usual stuff with ADD. Schoolwork was okay on some of the subjects I really liked, but if I wasn't passionate about it, I'd get bored with it and just kind of do something else. Couldn't retain information when I read it. Book reports were a joke. Like, I'd read a book and couldn't really do the book report about it if it wasn't in front of me. I had a very mild form of asthma. I still had a peak flow. I still had an inhaler. I still use the inhaler. Autism is a very broad spectrum, and the type of autism that I had was called Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of high-functioning autism. I didn't get, body language. I didn't think it mattered. I didn't think it existed. I would hang on to your words as if you spoke the truth. I took things very literal, so I didn't get sarcasm. I didn't understand metaphors. I just took it as you're telling me something in truth. I didn't like changes in routine, and I couldn't sit still for very long. I'd be moving constantly. About the only time that I could sit still when I was playing video games, I was highly sensitive to colors. When I had bipolar disorder, it was probably like everybody else's. You have those super highs and the super lows. There wasn't much middle ground. There wasn't a good balance of emotions. And so I just try to have fun to keep me on the highs. My chemical imbalances, I didn't process food, certain vitamins and minerals very well. And the pills that I were on helped that. It compensated for the chemical imbalances, but just masked the problem. I had a very mild form of seizures. It was only when I slept, except for 1 or 2 times when I was awake. But it would only last about 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. I'd wake up, look scared out of my mind, and go right back to sleep. I could see what was going on, but I couldn't hear anything. And I still remember one time when my mom came in the room and she tried to talk to me and I couldn't hear her voice. The food allergies that I had, caramel color, yellow dyes, MSG, sodium nitrate. What happened when I had any of those, I would get so agitated, so angry that my skin would feel like it was on fire. And the only way to get rid of it was to break stuff or punch holes in walls, things like that. I heard about this play called Hell Night, and I thought that sounded pretty fun because I liked horror stuff. So I invited one of my friends out to go to this play called Hell Night. And so, I took her out, and it was actually held by a church, and it was supposed to scare the hell out of you, where you don't want to go to hell. And so I'm going through this play, and I won't go through all the details, but near the end, they had an altar call, and I heard this voice, and it said, "Those that deny me before man, I will deny before my Father." And I knew that God had just pointed me out, and I still knew He was real, And so I stood up, and they asked for my name, and I was so timid, so freaked out because I did not like public speaking. It was like daggers into my heart, and I just couldn't take it. So I said my name so softly the first couple times because I just felt so embarrassed to speak in front of all these people. And I actually had to shout my name 3 times, which it was so hard to do that. They told me they'd pray for me, and I didn't go up front for prayer or anything like that. But I just took my friend home. And on the car ride home, I told her, I'm really sorry to bring you out to something like this. I really thought it was going to be different. And so I was actually apologizing to her. And I told her that I never stopped believing in God. I always knew He existed, but I just wasn't following Him. Even though I'd spent most of my life chasing other religions and things. But the rest of the car ride was pretty quiet. I told God, I'm going to give you one more chance. And so my mom ended up giving me a Bible for an early Christmas present. My day of deliverance was January 6, 2008. And I took my Bible with me, drove onto church property, and it just felt like this warm blanket just wrapped around me. And I believe that was Holy Spirit welcoming me back. And I went in, sat in the back row. I didn't know anybody there except for one person, one of my coworkers. And the pastor sang a song called "I Have to Believe" by Rita Springer. And in that song, near the beginning, she says, "He knows my darkness, He knows my pain." And I used to call all the trouble in my life trying to find out what happened to me when I was about 5 years old. I used to call it my darkness. And so I just lost it. I sobbed all through worship, all through testimonies, all through the sermon, and all the way home. I ended up going to bed 2 hours early, repenting of everything that I had done. Cussing God out. I built cases against God, telling him that he sinned, and I cast spells on people, did all this terrible stuff. And I told him, I said, God, this pastor said that the Lord will provide, so I need you to provide me with the way to get back in your good graces. And I said, if you don't come down, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be good. So I said, good night. Amen. And so I closed my eyes to go to sleep, but God had other plans. I didn't know how it would happen. I could see my fan, it was off. Closed my eyes to go to sleep. My eyes burst back open. All this wind starts pouring down on me. I'm freaking out, trying to get my bearings, try to sit up and look around, saying, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on? I couldn't move. I didn't even have the strength to blink. Still freaking out in my head, trying to figure out what's going on. In my head turns to the left, and I see all this thick black smoke coming out my left side, and it was in the form of a snake. It showed me its fangs, and it shot out the wall. And at that point, I knew that, God had just delivered me from all that junk and witchcraft, because what I invited in witchcraft, it was like a page and a half of names, and I didn't know it at the point, but that you can get saved, healed, delivered, preserved, protected in this kingdom all at the same time. And I didn't really know that I was healed, but I just had this peace that surpasses understanding. I just felt like nothing could go wrong with my life. After about 3 weeks, I started to take the medicine again. Like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be on medicine, right? So what the weird thing that happened was, when I started taking the medicine, it started causing the problems that it was supposed to prevent. And I was like, what's going on? What's wrong with my medicine? It's worked all this time, and I don't understand this. Why is it not working? And I didn't know that God had healed me, but after some time, I just raised my hands up to God, and I said, I just believe you've healed me. And I just imagined all these diseases going up to him and him taking them, and that I was free. I actually waited about 2 months before I told my family, because I knew my mom would have an issue with it, and I wanted them to see that I had been healed. They'd give them 2 months time or so that I had been healed, where they could see me and interact with me before I told them. When I told my dad, I don't remember him saying anything about it, if he did. When I told my mom, she said something like, I still want you on the medicine, it's worked this long, why can't you just still take it? She grew up, firsthand, seeing me, how I was like without it, so I imagine she was pretty concerned. My brother, when I told him, he just thought the medicine had cured me, and science doesn't have a cure for any of those diseases. It masks the problem, it masks the symptoms, but if you stop taking the medicine, it still comes back. I had some interesting things happen to me after I stopped taking the medicine. On January 7th, 2008, I had that peace that surpasses understanding. I didn't understand why I was so peaceful. That's why they call it that. Some Christians, they call it like the honeymoon phase with Jesus, where you're not troubled by anything with the world. You're just kind of floating by, not a care in the world. So that happened for several weeks, and until I started taking the medicine again, and the medicine started causing the problems it was supposed to prevent. And after I raised my hands up to God saying, I believe you've healed me, cut all the medicine cold turkey, didn't have a single side effect, it seemed like every thought in my mind rhymed. And that went on for several weeks. It was so bizarre. Poetry was really easy, and I would wake up with songs in my head and my heart, and I'd cry them out to God. I didn't write them down. I kind of would like to have But I just cry him out to God, and there would be several times where I would wake up and he'd give me a song to cry out to him. My brain, it felt like it was suffocated all those years when I was on that medicine, when I had all that mental and demonic oppression in my life where I just couldn't breathe. And finally, now my brain can breathe. It feels free from like the iron cage that it was in. And now I go around, because I'm so thankful for what God has done for my life, what he's done for me, that I go evangelizing and I tell people about how God changed my heart. He changed the heart of a witch that was against him, his people, cast spells on people, that now loves Jesus. Now I'd like you to do 3 things. 1, comment below this video. Let me know what you think of it and how it's changed your life. 2, share this video with 3 friends. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on Google+. Email this to somebody, but send it to somebody that needs a breakthrough, whether it's encouragement, inspiration in their life, or to impact them in some way. 3, subscribe below. If you want more breakthroughs in your life and to never miss an update, put your name and email address in the sign up form below and click Get Updates.